All right. Hope everyone's doing great and are excited to get exploring here. Hello, good afternoon, good evening, and how are you?
Hello, I'm well. How are you?
Great. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, yes.
How are things over there in Alsace? What's the weather like over there?
A real fall weather, like a November weather. We are expecting some snow on Friday, so hopefully it comes.
Oh my gosh, like how many inches are we expecting?
Yes.
How much snow are we expecting on Friday?
Oh, not so much. I mean, in Ribeauvillé, where we are located, middle of Alsace, probably just that much.
Okay.
If it stays a little bit, it's wonderful. Probably a little bit more on the hills, which will be good because it means skiing very soon, hopefully.
Fingers
Fingers crossed.
crossed.
Yes.
Awesome. Everyone, I know you're just coming into the chat now. Super excited to be live again on this page. I know typically you might see me on Sommation or maybe at Drink IWS, but today I'm here live on my page with Anne Trimbach of Trimbach Winery in Alsace. Hopefully you know the ones. If not, we're going to dive into them today. World-renowned, classic and beautiful wines to which we get to explore some really awesome cuvées to which you might be familiar with. Some will be brand new, but I'm excited to dive into this chat with you, Anne. Ready to get started?
Yes.
Awesome. So why don't you introduce yourself to everyone who's watching and tell us a little bit about your family and kind of where we are, especially in the next generation.
So my name is Anne Trimbach. I'm very proud and happy to represent the 13th generation of this wonderful family. We started to make wines in 1626, so it's a few years back. And I'm the daughter of Pierre Trimbach, who has been our winemaker for the last 40 years or so, and my uncle Jean, who probably a lot of you know in the US. He's been traveling for many years all around the world. I'm the eldest of this generation, so I came in 13 years ago, and I am traveling. I used to travel quite a lot. We travel closer from home today, but yes, basically I've been going to the US, especially on the West Coast and in the Midwest for 13 years, and also in Scandinavia. And I'm taking care of this Trimbach Instagram and social media in general. And yeah, basically that's what I do.
Awesome. And then for those who are just getting to know Trimbach, kind of take us there to what your everyday is. Like, what does it mean to be in Alsace, to be amongst the vines of Trimbach?
Every day when I'm at the winery, we welcome a lot of people because it's a very touristic area. So lots of people love to come to Alsace because I believe we are very welcoming, first of all. We are lovely people. And the food is great, the wines are great. So it's also a way to go down to the south for most people who live in the north. So it's a central place in Europe where people love to be for a while. So right now it's going to be a more quiet season in November, but in the summer, I mean, at Christmas time and all along the year, actually, we welcome a lot of people, and I welcome a lot of people as well when I'm here. And if I'm not here, I'm spreading the Trimbach message everywhere I go.
Love it. And so, I haven't been to Ribeauvillé. What does it mean to grow grapes there? I mean, what do you expect? Like, what is the terroir like? What is the climate like? Walk us through, like, get us to feel like we're not in New York at the moment and we're with you over there.
Alsace is a very long wine, well, it's a long, not very long wine region with 120 kilometers wine road from north to south, from, let's say, a little bit above Strasbourg and down to the south. We are right in the middle. And Ribeauvillé is one of the most famous towns in terms of architecture, first of all, but also in terms of vineyards and terroir. Alsace has 13 different major types of soils. In Ribeauvillé, we find mostly marl and limestone. My village, Ribeauvillé, is located on a fault line, which has brought what we call a mosaic of soils. It's very diverse. We have Grand Cru Geisberg and Osterberg, where we produce Frédéric Emile, just behind the winery. And it's already there. You have what we can call a mosaic of soils. It's a mix of marl, limestone, and sandstone. And of course, depending on where you are in the vineyards, it's not exactly the same amount. So a richness of soils for sure, a beautiful kind weather, dry and cold winters usually, maybe not the last years, but well, last year it came back, we had lots of snow, and dry and warm, very warm sometimes summers, so semi-continental microclimates, and a very low rainfall, the second lowest rainfall after the southwest of France, Perpignan, Toulouse area. So not so much rain. Even if we are northeast located, it doesn't rain so much, except this spring and summer.
And that's from the influence of the Vosges Mountains, correct?
Exactly. Vosges Mountains on the west side, they protect us from the humidity and the rain in general. So a lovely place to go and visit one day. You have to come.
I cannot wait. I can't wait to just leave New York for a week or so and come visit you. And help me understand this. What does it mean to grow up Alsatian, and especially like going into the identity of Trimbach? Like, why don't we start there? Like, what does it mean to be Alsatian for you?
Alsatian, I wouldn't say. People from Alsace, we say, because my great uncle has always said, Hubert, he has traveled a lot to the US, and I'm sure some people will remember what he said. It's a type of dog, Alsatian. So we say people from Alsace, and being born in Alsace and raised in Alsace means probably a lot, but the words don't come to my mind right now. But it's a region. It could be a country by itself. I'm exaggerating slightly too much right now, but we have so much traditions that are far away from what you could see on the other side of France, and it's a very unique place for sure. So let's say that we are very lucky. It's living like in a fairy tale when it comes to what we see, and we have everything. We have, well, not high mountains, but beautiful hills and, well, mountains, we can still say so. And everything but not the ocean like you would have, but everything else we have. And great food and great wines, great people usually, and lots of things to do, hiking, bicycling, climbing, skiing, voila. It's the place to be.
We have a comment in here. We have Close in Tune, Riesling #1 in the world, my favorite over-the-top wine compliment. So we have fans here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Talk to us about the style of Trimbach. Like, if someone were to open your wines for the first time, what do they expect?
They should expect. It's funny. We are launching a new website this week. At the end of the week, probably, if we succeed. And I was writing the philosophy of my father and of the whole family, actually, but balance. That the three key words at the winery. And basically, they should expect purity, dryness for most of the wines, except if it's written late harvest or noble berries selection on the label, precision, and yes, focus, I would say.
And when we talk about dryness of the wines, when it comes to like maybe an average of like residual sugar, around what level can one expect?
For the Rieslings we produce, from the classic to Close in Tune, including of course Frédéric Emile and all the other Rieslings, usually between 1 and 5 or 6 grams of residual sugar maximum. It happens sometimes that we are slightly above, but then it's vintages like 2013, for example, Frédéric Emile has, I think, 7 grams of sugar, but 9.5 grams of acidity, which is quite big for Alsace. So it's, again, a question of balance. My father would tell you numbers, it doesn't matter. Just listen to your palate. And yes, but dry wines, then it's so much easier when it comes to food pairings in our point of view.
Absolutely. And I love that. Just trust your palate, know what's good, and enjoy.
Exactly. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I think you started to dive into this a little bit. I know that, amongst the Trimbach labels, there's, we have quite a number of wines that we can really like explore and work with. What's the difference between your classic line, the reserve, and the reserve personnel?
We produce classic wines, and so we own 58 hectares today. And we have been negotiations since the 60s, just because of my great uncle Hubert, who started to sell our wines abroad. He started to export to Scandinavia a lot and to the US quite early in those years, late 60s, let's say. And we needed more wine, so we needed to have more grapes, and we couldn't buy land so much at that time. I mean, after the war, it was difficult times, so we started to buy grapes. And so our classic line today, which includes Pinot Blanc, Riesling, and Gewürztraminer, is mostly from grapes we select and purchase very rigorously, I have to say. And Reserve is a more local selection around Ribeauvillé and from Ribeauvillé. Reserve Personnel is usually from Grand Cru vineyards. For many, many years, my family didn't want to write the Grand Cru names on the labels, which has evolved today because we have a selection of Grand Cru as well. But these were the names we were using for the Grand Cru wines: Frédéric Émile, Pinot Gris Réserve Personnelle, Gewürztraminer, Cuvée des Seigneurs de Ribeaupierre. And then, of course, we have Clos Sainte-Thune and late harvest wines and Sélection de Grenoble. Let's say the provenance, the location of the vineyard is a little bit different from one range to another. And today we are very happy and lucky to say that all the wine growers we have been working with, not all of them, but 35 of them decided to follow us into the organic viticulture.
Beautiful.
And we will be certified on the label because it's already organic viticulture, but we will be certified for everything together, Négoce and what we own, in 2023.
Congratulations. That's an amazing feat. And I think you talked to us earlier or in another conversation that there are some new exciting things that are also coming up in the winery. Why don't you talk to us about some latest innovations and like new things to expect as well?
Yeah, there are a number of things that will happen that have not happened yet, but we will be soon 400 years of winemaking and family owning this wonderful winery. So in 2026, so it's in 5 years from now, it's going to happen very soon, yes. So a few surprises will happen at that time. In 1919, the first label of Clos Sainte-Thune came out. So in 2019 vintage of Clos Sainte-Thune, when we release this vintage, we will go back to the original label of Clos Sainte-Thune.
Love it.
We have a new wine that we will taste later, which is called 390th Anniversary, Riesling from 2016. This one, yes. With a new label just for this wine. We have a new labels coming in as well, which are not on each wine yet, because each time we release a new vintage of a wine, we will change the label. So it's a little bit of a mess right now, but it will be great one day again, like all... how do you say in English? Not old labels and new labels at the same time. So we are just waiting for this time to happen. Everything takes time in our winery because we keep the wines also. So everything takes a little bit of time. And changes don't happen just like that. What else do we have? I might forget something right now, but it's true that we are in a great evolution phase right now. It's moving a lot, and my cousin just joined us in January, Pauline, the daughter of Jean, to take care of the French market. My cousin Julien, he's the youngest of Jean. He has been here for 7 years now. He's taking over winemaking and everything technical, slowly, little by little, because my father Pierre is only 60 plus something and doesn't want to retire yet. Of course, Jean, same with Jean, no retirement planned yet. And my sister, she's here as well. So we are 4 in the next generation, the 13th generation. So very dynamic.
And right so now. Julien lives on the estate, correct?
Oui. Yes, he took over the house where I grew up with my father, my sister, and my mom. And yes, he's watching over the winery. If there is any problem, Julien is here, or should be there.
And technically, what is his first vintage?
Technically, he started 7 years ago, so that was 2014, yes. And first vintage on his own, not yet. Just the work of two for now. Like my father, when he came, he started to work in 79, and his first vintage was in the 80s, not before.
Wow.
My grandfather was behind him for a while.
No pressure. No.
No, never.
I love this comment that I'm seeing in the chat from Remy World Peace. I think I was going to lead up to it, but since we're asking it, the comment is, I'd love to hear about Pinot Noir, how it compares to Burgundy or other Alsace Pinot Noir. I love it. I do too. So why don't we talk about, yes, you're known as mainly for like your dry whites, but you do grow beautiful Pinot Noir. Why don't you walk us through your wines?
We produce 50% of Riesling. That's the main focus, and it has been for many years. Pinot Noir is quite new. Let's say we've been producing Pinot Noir for something like 50 years. In the very old days in Alsace, we were producing more red than white, actually, but that's centuries ago. And in today's world, Pinot Noir is coming back. We planted more Pinot Noir a few years ago as well, so we plan to have a great Pinot Noir with the name of the terroir someday. For now, we have two Pinot Noir, one reserve, which is a selection from grapes we own and grapes we purchase because we still don't have enough or at the right age to produce something really at the top. Well, it takes time, again. And then we have a Pinot Noir that we call Réserve Personnelle in the US, and we call it Cuvée 7 in France or in the other countries where we now sell it. And we will change the name on the next label. It will be called Pinot Noir Terroir. And it's a great... Oh, oui. It's a great Pinot Noir. Both of them are great, but they don't look like a Burgundy Pinot Noir. It's not our aim to copy Burgundy or to make a... My cat is playing behind me.
I know it's going up and down. They know when we're live, you know.
He always likes to show when I'm doing something live. So yes, a great Pinot Noir, but not a copy of Burgundy. And you can, of course, find different styles of Pinot Noir in Alsace. Most of them would be, I don't know how to say, but our Pinot Noir is classic. Some are more like Burgundy. We don't work with wood. We work with stainless steel only, even for Pinot Noir. We have old casks, of course, and we have these old casks that we work with for whites and red. But no new wood from none of the wines. We have a sign in the tasting room which says, say no to oak, help put the fruit back in wine.
Love it.
And basically also we never worked with wood, so we don't know really how to deal with it. And we like the fruitiness and the purity of the fruit of our Pinot Noir, which is not a rosé style. It's not Burgundy. It's, let's say, maybe in between, but classic Alsace style with a beautiful structure and beautiful fruits.
If you're naming,
it's better and better with the climate change.
I can't wait to taste this, especially with the new labeling, to which you're basically saying that there's something very special about the terroir to which you grow your Pinot Noir on. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about that?
Tell me again, because it just...
Oh, sorry. The uniqueness of the terroir to which the Pinot Noir is grown on.
Yes, absolutely, yes. Yes, you can plant Pinot Noir on different types of soils, but basically what we have around Ribeauvillé is marl and limestone, so limestone focus for our Pinot Noir so far. But there are wonderful granite Pinot Noir in Alsace as well.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, if you haven't tried it, it is still out in the market. The 2015 Reserve Personnel Pinot Noir, phenomenal. I love this wine so much. And if anyone wants to come and hang out with me, I will probably open this wine 100%. I will definitely open this wine. I love this wine. One of the other varieties that I feel like doesn't get a lot of love, especially here in the United States, is Gewürztraminer. And perhaps maybe it's just like a different taste for some, or maybe it's just even, you know, we need to find much more like unique pairings. Why don't you talk to us about, you know what, why don't we just dive into it? Why don't we go into our first wine, which is the 2012. I'm not going to say it properly, so why don't you help me out with this?
Cuvée des Seigneurs de Ribeaupierre. It's a quite long name. It means a special wine for the kings or the lords, I should say, of Ribeaupierre. Ribeaupierre, they were the kings of Ribeauvillé, and we have 3 beautiful castles on the top of the hill, which were the house of the Ribeaupierre kings. And there's a lot of legends and the patrimoine, the history about them is very, very strong in Ribeauvillé. We still have a beautiful parade every year in September for them, in homage to them. So it's a name that means a lot to us in Alsace. Gewürztraminer, yes, it's a fantastic grape variety, but I can understand that some people are afraid of it. And sometimes we use a French word, a priori. They have something in mind that is not always true, but they are afraid to try it again because they were disappointed once in their lives. And I might understand, because when you meet the Gewürztraminer that is not balanced, you don't wish to taste another one. It can be very cloying and heavy, but when it's well made, and it happens very often, more and more, it can be dry and precise, and we say disciplined. And when it's disciplined and balanced, it's heaven to me. And I've met lots of women all around the world that said to me, "Oh, I could perfume myself with this wine. It's just amazing." And we produce different ones, classique, réserve, and this cuvée des Seigneurs de Ribeaupierre. And this one we don't produce every year, only when the vintage is particularly special and good. And 2012 was a great classic vintage in Alsace, so we made it. It's usually coming from Grand Cru Mandelberg and Lieu-dit Mulforst in the village of Hunavir. So that's why it's still a cuvée. And someday we will have a Grand Cru Mandelberg as well. Things are coming, but it will take a few years because we have a few bottles in the cellar to sell before. Because we keep this wine, we keep it before we sell it. It needs a little bit of time before we sell it. So we keep the wines in the bottles prior release as long as we can for the great wines. And yes, it's all about elegance and finesse. It's the opposite of a cloying Gewürztraminer. It has a great balance. It has acidity. It has sugar, but not too much. It's not over the top. It's not like a grandmother's perfume. And it can be magical when it comes to food pairing. In Alsace, traditionally, of course, people will tell you foie gras or Munster cheese, something strong and tasty. Of course, duck will always work with Gewürztraminer. To my point of view, I love it with Indian food, Indian curries, when they are not too spicy. It's just amazing. Of course, in Alsace, we don't find many places like this one, but in the US, you have so many different styles of food offered to you. You can play with it so much. Probably Cajun food. I'm not an expert, but my uncle Jean has been to these places where they do that. It's not in my in the areas I visit. Everything that is very flavorful and maybe some ginger, some nice spices from Asia. Not all of them, but probably a few. It's quite versatile when it comes to food, but we don't always think about it. We are sometimes afraid of it. I can understand. My father's favorite pairing with, well, I change wine, but our classic Gewürz is a very spicy French steak tartare.
I love that.
It works so well. Sometimes you don't need a red. You can just play with other wines, and it's quite interesting and fun to see how well it works.
Yes, and I gotta tell you, it's funny as a sommelier who will, go through their studies and understand what Gewürztraminer is. It's like this for me. It's so pretty. This is so enchanting, and because it's mainly the striking balance that you find in the wine. It's exactly like you said. There is a little bit of residual sugar, but it appears like dry on the palate. There is perfume, but it's not overwhelming. I get this beautiful like honeysuckle like tone in there, as well as some white flowers, very delicate minerality as well. But the whole thing is balanced. I can go through this bottle fairly quickly, especially with some steak tartare and some fries. So I love this pairing. It's almost lunchtime here. It is lunchtime here, so I am super excited to share this with the rest of the team. Why don't we go into the Grand Crus? You mentioned earlier that it's something that you didn't bottle for quite some time. I believe the first vintage, was it 2012? Was it?
For Grand Cru Geisberg, you mean? Or
in general?
In general, the first Grand Cru with the Grand Cru name on the label was Geisberg. So it was 2009 vintage, released in 2015, beginning of 15 or end of 14. I'm not quite sure anymore, but Yes. But before that, we used to produce Frédéric Émile every year, and we still do, of course, and Clos Sainte-Thune, which are coming from Grand Cru. It's not on the label, but yes.
Why don't you talk about the specific terroir for Clos Sainte-Thune and why that is so unique and special and like known around the world?
Clos Sainte-Thune is located in the Grand Cru Rosaquer in the village of Hunavir, just south of where we are located, very, very close. And it's a beautiful place with lots of limestone, two types of limestone, mostly muschelkalk, which is fossil flecked limestone, and yellow limestone as well. And of course there is marl as well, but in the Clos Sainte-Thune, not that much. At the top of Clos Sainte-Thune, when we walk at the top of the vineyard, we walk directly on the limestone. You see it, you can touch it, it's right there. And it's an old vineyard that we've had in the family for more than 200 years. And old vines, of course, higher density of plantation. And it's the place in the Rosaquer and maybe the place in Alsace where you have the highest proportion of that limestone type, muschelkalk and yellow limestone, which gives to the wine a sensation of minerality that is very, very unique, and length that is, it's hard to say for me, but quite incomparable, if I may say. And I'm very, very happy. We just got 100 points for the 2017 vintage from a French wine guide called Béthane and de Sauve. And it rarely happens. At least it's the first time for us to get the highest score for Clos Sainte-Thune. So it's quite an achievement. We can be proud.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Why don't we dive into then the other Grand Cru vineyards, especially as to how it contributes? Well, why don't we lead into Frédéric Émile and like however you would like to lead into the other two Grand Cru vineyards?
Sure. So Frédéric Émile, it's 2011 that I have as well. And it's coming from the two Grand Cru just behind our winery. It's called Geisberg and Osterberg. They are really next to each other. They touch each other. They have been classified. Ah, voilà. She has a map. Wonderful map.
Let me go this way.
The winery, it's the three big red roofs. And just behind you have Geisberg and Osterberg. It's a magnificent place. So the first Grand Cru in Alsace was classified in the 70s. It was Grand Cru Schlossberg. And then came other Grand Cru classifications. Geisberg, I think, was the first one in the late 80s. And then mid-90s or so was Osterberg. I'm not very good with dates, but something like that. At that time, we were already producing Frédéric Émile under the name Frédéric Émile, which was the name of my great-great-great-grandfather. So we never decided to change the name because it meant something for us. And also, if we wanted to change the name, we would have had to make two different wines, one Grand Cru Geisberg, one Grand Cru Osterberg. It's, of course, forbidden to blend two Grand Cru in Alsace. We kept it like that because Frédéric Émile now has many nicknames all around the world. Freddy, Fred Emile, FE, CFE, whatever. And it got famous under that name, yes. And plus the two Grand Cru share the same soil, marl, limestone and sandstone. The only big difference would be the exposure to the sun because Osterberg is facing east and Geisberg is full south. But both of them, they have the same soil, the same base of soil. Of course, if you go to the higher part of both, it might differ a little bit. We could probably produce 6 or 7 different wines if we wanted to. But we are very lucky to have 3 point something, close to 4 hectares just behind the winery. So we decided to make just one wine long time ago, 100 years ago, and it's still the same. And it will, I think, stay like that. It's our signature wine today, and a gastronomy Riesling that is absolutely marvelous when it comes to food pairings, and also able to age a long time. So,
what vintage would you open right now?
Oh, if I could choose, 2001, 2002, something like that. I love them when they get like 15, 20 years old, and more, of course. But yes, 15, 20. I think this is my favorite area, kind of. Right now, I tasted 2002 not too long ago, and it was magnificent.
Walk us through to what each vineyard brings to the wine.
I would say Geisberg is a bit steeper. Geisberg, depending on the area of Geisberg, it might have a little bit of more of sandstone or something. Some parts have a bit more of limestone. Let's say it brings, I don't want to say the fatness because there's nothing fat in this wine, but the largeness, the opulence, if I may say. Maybe it's not the right word. And Osterberg, it's in the word, it brings the austerity, austere, austerity, and the acidity. A young Grand Cru Osterberg is absolutely, if it's too young, it's too young. You have to wait for a Grand Cru Osterberg. So both of them complement each other in our point of view. It's always been like that. And when we talk about the Grand Cru Geisberg we produce, like with the label Grand Cru Geisberg, it's another part from the Geisberg planted in terraces. It's not just behind the winery. So a little bit more limestone plates and yes, slightly different because it's closer from the Kirchberg, the third Grand Cru of Fribourg.
Love it. How many bottles generally do you produce of Frederick Emile?
Well, 25,000 sometimes. So it's a great wine that you are lucky that we don't need to allocate you. Not like Clos Sainte-Une or all the Grand Cru collection that we produce, because these are very, very tiny productions compared to Frederick Emile, where we have a bit more land.
And so now we are on to something very special. I feel like I need a drum roll here because I think I get to be the first one in my own company, I think, that gets to try this, or even amongst my friends. This is your anniversary cuvee, 390th anniversary cuvee. Amazing. Yes. I'm going to hold this up there for quite some time because look at this label. How gorgeous. What a celebration. Walk us through what to expect from this wine. What plots are vinified in here and what do we expect? I know what I'm drinking, but why don't we share with everyone who's watching?
My father Pierre likes to make surprises. So in 2016, I believe because he wanted to make something special happen for the 390th anniversary, like a sort of countdown until the 400 years we are right now, or very soon, I mean. He decided to pay a homage to all these wonderful wine growers we've been working with for many, many years. The image of négoce sometimes is seen like something negative, and when you are really working with these people who make all the best to grow their vineyards and make beautiful grapes appear when it's harvest time, someday you have to thank them, and also to thank them because 35 out of 70 decided to follow us with this organic viticulture, the wish we had to go there. So we did a special cuvée. It's only grapes from négoce. It's only grapes we purchase and select, representing the mosaic of terroir from Alsace. The drawing is also representing the mosaic of soils from Alsace. It's a little bit more modern than what we do usually, I have to say. And it's representing close to, in the wine, it's included approximately 30% of Grand Cru vineyards. So it's a great wine. From north to south, you have different Grand Cru. Some Grand Cru you will never see on our labels because what they bring is too small to make just one wine, but all together it makes a beautiful wine. And we did not make that much. We launched it end of August, and we said to our world importers, if you want some, first come, first served. And of course, in the US, you will be able to find some. I don't know exactly when because everything takes time now to on the boats.
Unfortunately.
Voilà.
I'm very, very lucky.
Yes, you are, because they came especially for you tonight.
I can't.
But
everyone's like,
wine.
I want to taste this, and I'm like, okay, don't worry, you will taste this. Everyone's so excited. I know that you said like one of your newest acquisitions is Grand Cru brand. Is that part of this cuvée as well?
No, not that year, because we purchased it in 2016, but Well, something to ask my dad. I don't know. We just purchased it in 2016, and the first wine that will come out next year will be 2018. So what did we do with the grapes in 2016? Maybe eventually. No, because it's only Negos, so it should not. But I will ask and check and send you an email tomorrow to let you know if you want.
Awesome.
I have a doubt myself.
This is a stunning wine. I feel so spoiled right now. I mean, it's hard to describe apart from it. It's just so brilliant. It's bright. It's got this amazing animation and energy to the wine.
It's in French we say it's very gourmand. Gourmand means it's difficult to translate in English. There is no word, equal word, but like you have a sip and you want more. It's very much on the fruits. It has a beautiful structure. It makes you want some more. It's easy. It's easy to like.
It's so easy to like. I actually did pour myself just another glass. So exactly that. Now I know we're coming a little bit close to time, but is there anything else that you wanted to share with us from like the spirit of your family in Trimbach, or maybe about the region in itself?
What could I say? I think Alsace has never been such in a great energy and dynamism than in today's world. I know I've only my age of experience. I was not born 80 plus years ago, but my grandfather, who is 89, can see the real evolutions and changes. And I think we are about to be in your wine cellars again, because I mean, in yours, I know we are, but speaking in Alsace, progression, you can see the progression and the evolution in each winery. All these young people are so passionate. We share more within all the wineries. We see each other more than they used to, and there is a lot of energy, actually. That would be my key word.
Love it. Love it. And also, for those who are watching, make sure to go to their website. I know you said it's a new website that is launching,
Not
right?
yet. Soon. Right now it's not so many information, but soon, probably at the end of the week in French, and hopefully by the end of next week or before, fingers crossed, in English as well. So be more patient, but soon it's gonna come.
Love it. And if you're not already following, make sure to find Trimbach on Instagram and make sure to follow them and see what all of the new developments are. Anna's the mastermind behind the page, so you can communicate with her there if you have any additional questions, especially on the wines that we tried today. And don't forget, drink Alsace. It's beautiful, incredibly gastronomical, one of my favorite regions, especially when it comes to Riesling. So thank you so much. What an honor to have you for even just a short bit of time, and for you to speak to us in your very, very busy day. Your family is very much celebrated here, and I can't wait to share these bottles and all the other things that I have in my cellar with the rest of friends here and around the world. So thank you so much.
Right. Thank you very much.
Bye, Cheers. Everyone. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Bye.
Ciao. Bye-bye. Thank you.